Montreal entered the new week under a blanket of early-season winter weather that arrived well before the official start of winter. A slow-moving storm system swept across southern Quebec and delivered a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain that spread rapidly through the region. The first major storm of the season gripped the city with little warning, turning streets, bridges, and neighborhoods into hazardous corridors of ice and drifting snow. Snow began falling around midday on Sunday and intensified through the late afternoon. Neighborhoods across Montreal recorded totals ranging from roughly 15 centimeters to nearly 35 centimeters by early Monday. Northeasterly winds gusted near 40 kilometers per hour and reduced visibility across open areas. These winds drove snow into long, shifting drifts that covered sidewalks, parking lots, and secondary roads. The weight of the wet accumulation pressed heavily on branches that still carried lingering autumn leaves. Many of these branches snapped under the strain and fell across streets, vehicles, and power lines. The storm formed along a low-pressure system that cut across southern and central Quebec. Moist air fed into the circulation and created alternating bands of heavy snow and freezing rain. Road surfaces that had not yet been treated for winter conditions turned slick within minutes. Ice formed quickly on bridges and overpasses as temperatures hovered near the freezing mark. Traffic slowed to a crawl as drivers attempted to navigate the rapidly changing surface conditions. Montreal residents experienced widespread disruptions as the storm intensified. Close to 400,000 Hydro-Quebec customers lost electricity across the province, leaving many communities without heat or lighting overnight. Montreal alone accounted for tens of thousands of outages, while neighboring regions such as Montérégie and Laval recorded well over 100,000 combined outages. Families gathered in living rooms lit only by battery-powered lanterns as the wet snow continued to accumulate outside. School districts across the region announced closures for both Monday and Tuesday, urging parents to keep children home while roads remained dangerous. Many motorists had not yet installed winter tires, a step that is mandatory during the cold season. Calls for roadside assistance increased steadily as vehicles became stuck on the snowy slopes or slid into ditches. Emergency shelters opened in several boroughs to support residents who lacked heat or whose homes had been damaged by falling branches. The city's 311 hotline received a surge of calls reporting downed trees, blocked streets, and localized flooding. Mixed precipitation overwhelmed storm drains in some low-lying areas and created pools of slush and freezing water. Snow removal crews deployed at full capacity, but the rapid shift between snow and freezing rain made clearing operations difficult. Plows struggled to maintain traction on steep streets, and crews worked through the night to keep main routes open. The storm also triggered a major collision on Highway 19 on the Papineau-LeBlanc Bridge heading south into Montreal. Initial reports indicated that roughly 20 vehicles were involved in a chain reaction crash on the slick bridge deck. Several minor injuries were reported as first responders moved between stalled and damaged vehicles. The incident highlighted how quickly conditions deteriorated even on heavily traveled corridors. Police urged drivers to avoid non-essential travel and to adjust speed immediately when visibility dropped. Farther west, the winter system extended its reach into southern Ontario. Lake-effect snowbands streamed south off Lake Huron and blanketed long stretches of Highway 402. Provincial police closed nearly 30 kilometers of the eastbound lanes after visibility collapsed and roads became snow-covered. 2 transport trucks jackknifed north of Watford, forcing an extended shutdown for cleanup and vehicle recovery. Snow continued into the evening and created white-knuckle driving conditions across the border region between Lambton and Middlesex counties. Meteorologists noted that the snowfall totals at Pearson International Airport broke a long-standing record for November 9th. The airport measured more than 9 centimeters of snow, surpassing a record of roughly 1.5 centimeters set in 1971. Additional records from the 1960s showed that such early and significant snowfall events were rare but not unprecedented. Hamilton recorded more than 16 centimeters of snow, and Ottawa recorded more than 11 centimeters by Monday morning. As the storm system lifted northward, officials urged residents to use caution and to adjust driving habits for winter conditions. Insurance data highlighted the 3 most common collision types during early winter. These included rear-end crashes, unsafe lane changes, and single-vehicle impacts caused by sliding off the roadway. Analysts emphasized that cold pavement reduced visibility and sudden slowdowns combined to elevate risk, especially when drivers followed too closely. Authorities advised motorists to install winter tires once temperatures dropped below 7 degrees and to ensure full visibility before departing. Drivers were reminded to clear snow from roofs, windshields, headlights, and license plates. Police across the affected regions urged residents to give snowplows plenty of room and to avoid passing them on narrow roadways. Snowplows, salt trucks, and high-visibility road crews formed a critical line of defense as the early winter conditions settled in. Although snow tapered by midweek, Environment Canada forecast an additional system approaching from the west that could bring more snow and strong winds by the coming weekend. Hydro-Quebec estimated that full power restoration could take several days in heavily affected corridors, where broken lines remained difficult to access. Line workers spent long hours clearing fallen branches, repairing damaged poles, and replacing hardware that failed under the weight of the wet snow. Officials emphasized that residents should not return to damaged homes or dark neighborhoods until crews confirmed that electrical hazards had been addressed. Shelters remained open in several areas for those needing heat power or temporary accommodation. Emergency managers warned that cold air would continue to settle across the region and that icy surfaces could refreeze overnight even after brief daytime thawing. As Canada entered the early stages of the cold season, meteorologists pointed to a growing pattern of volatility. Early season storms of this scale appear to be arriving more frequently, driven by shifting atmospheric patterns and greater variability between warm and cold air masses. These conditions increase the likelihood of rapid transitions from rain to freezing rain to heavy snow, creating challenges for cities that rely on predictable seasonal changes. Residents across Quebec and Ontario continued cleanup efforts as daylight returned to snow-covered streets and neighborhoods. Fallen branches lined sidewalk snowbanks towered along road edges, and plows carved narrow channels through residential districts. Crews assessed infrastructure stress points, drainage blockages, and tree damage across parks and boulevards. The early winter storm served as a reminder that preparedness is essential, even weeks before the calendar suggests winter has arrived. Officials urged the public to remain vigilant, monitor weather statements, and prepare vehicles and homes for additional severe weather. As another system approached, communities across the region braced for the possibility of more snow, more wind, and more uncertainty in the weeks ahead.